I'm gonna read Justin's comment here. He says, "Cut welfare to all immigrants. Problem solved. It will solve things." What do you think about that?
All right, I thought he was still talking. Well, I'm gonna tell you guys, since I was right there and I experienced it firsthand. I saw it all go down. So get ready. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. So during COVID, like seriously, this is really crazy. I'm East African myself. I grew up in an Islamic household, so I'm not judging these people. I'm not bashing these people because I am an East African. I would never want to cause them to be like vilified or hated because we look similar. Especially if I put a hijab on my head, I look like a Somalian, so I would never want to lump, people into one basket. But during COVID, this was a rough time in my life. I wasn't doing too good. I was going from house to house with my relatives. I didn't have a job. And so at that time, there were these food deliveries that we would get. And I did not know that this was feeding my future. We would get these big aluminum tray of pasta and rice. And I did not like it, to be honest. It was not tasty. But I had to eat something. I was hungry. So I would eat that food. And I was really confused because I would see like African people delivering, and I was like, "What is this? Like some kind of weird DoorDash program or something?" And then like I just didn't know. I was not in the know. I was always the person that keeps to myself and everything. And then that's when I found out, like, oh, so there's telling me, oh, there's a program. They get a lot of money. Do you know that? I was like, what kind of program is this? Oh, you just deliver food to people and you get these big $1 million checks. I was like, really? Just for delivering food? I was like, damn. How do you get into that business? You know? And the more and more I started to get these deliveries at my different family members' houses, and even like when I was going to like friends' houses, they would have piles and piles of food. And I was like, what is this? Like people were hoarding food. Like it was crazy to me. And then when it finally came out, like what was going on, I realized like were these East African people delivering or throwing us this food just so that they can get rid of it and then they can cash the money? And I remember seeing this all the stockpiles of fruit and vegetables. And I was thinking like, are they giving this to white people? Are they giving this to Christians? Are they giving this to Asians? Or are they just lunging and throwing this stuff at us? And I question it because one time, me, my mom, my niece, we were going home, and the Somali lady was trying to give us 6 cartons of milk. And I was like, wait, hold on, we're Muslims, right? Why are we doing this? I don't need 6 cartons of milk. Like, what is this? Like, this is not ancient Egypt. I'm not taking milk baths. I don't want 6 cartons of milk. And she's like, no, 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 sister, no, take. It's free, take. I was like, no, I don't want it. This is not right. Now like, I realized the scam, and I'm looking at it like I cannot justify this. I was there when they were throwing this food at us, when they were trying to give us 6 cartons of milk. And I even would go to the masjids and stuff, and they would have cartons and cartons of mangoes. And I'm like, where is all this food? Like, this is a time of COVID, right? A lot of people
Right.
didn't have jobs. But somehow, all the East Africans had so much food. And
Could I ask you one question so you don't lose your
yeah,
thought? I'm very curious by the way you're describing this. Is it because they couldn't fill a quota, you think? Because the quotas that they were quoting, like in this one area of northern Minnesota, they were delivering more meals than the whole population of the town. So I'm just wondering, you think that could have been
Dang,
one
I
of the
don't know
things?
how to.
yes, and the thing is, like, it was so sloppy. They don't know how to scam correctly. If you're gonna scam correctly. Like, give us 20 cereal boxes or something, and then like write something down, make the math add up. Like, they just were literally getting rid of food, like throwing it, like it was just waste to them. And then I remember, like, we would get so much food, and the food would go bad, and then we would have to throw it. And then my mom was like, "That's it. We don't want this anymore." But they kept giving it to us. We weren't starving. We
You know
weren't
what I think
poor.
it was though? They
Mhm.
were, so I think it was a state program to feed people because they were, everything was shut down. So it's kind of like it's like a food pantry that is coming to your door. They get the contract to serve that food, but then in the billing, maybe they're billing 500 people, right? But they don't really have 500 people. So that's why they have to come
Yeah.
around and just give as much of it. And then also, if they are charging the government $20 a plate, that plate is supposed to have some protein, some vegetables. You put all this in your contract, right? Like if you've done a federal contract before, you put all stuff in your contract. I'll say I'll provide some fruits, some juice, some water. Then I'll add a protein, some veggies, and a carb, right? And it's $20 a plate, including delivery. Well, the reason the food you are getting is shitty is because if I give you very good food with the delivery for $20, I wouldn't make any money. So I have to give you $3 food, which is why you didn't get any proteins. You probably got some tomato relish and some maybe with some beans in it as your
Who?
protein,
Are
right?
you talking about the food we got?
Yeah.
No, we did. We got some restaurant food. We had burgers. We had
Okay.
pasta. We had rice. We were getting the food from a Somali restaurant called something Safari or something like that.
Yeah, it's been
Okay.
on the
And we
news.
were, yeah. And I don't really like that kind of food, to be honest with you. But like I said, I had to eat it because I didn't have a job at that time.
Right.
But like, they were giving us so much food, and like, I
So where
just
do you
was
think the
like
scam
confused
is
about
then?
it.
If Where do you think the scam is? So the scam is that for them to provide the food, they are providing it through their own restaurants, so they make money from the sale of that, right? Is that what you think
It
it was?
yes, like I cannot defend this. Like, I never they need to apologize because the amount of fraud, the amount of waste of food that I saw, I don't know, like, I'm really suspicious. Were they only giving Muslims this food? Were they only giving East Africans this food? Because I was around East African, so I don't know. I didn't see any other race getting this stuff. So
Yeah.
the whole thing is criminal. The whole thing is
One
corrupt.
one thing I also noticed with blue states is sometimes they have these programs, they get funding for it, right? They get a proposal, they get funding, the state funds a lot of this crap. And then immigrant advocacy groups for each group, so maybe a Nigerian community, Sudanese community, Somali, Eritrean, whatever, they lobby to get a quota of that funding, and then that's what they have to do in return. Like they have to show that they're doing exactly what they were doing. But for them to deliver that, somebody has to get paid. So the restaurant guy gets a kickback for selling the food through his restaurant. Somebody gets a kickback for giving him that opportunity to serve the food. So they will still do the job, but they will still pocket a lot of the money because this is sales that he wouldn't have driven by himself, right? If he's selling all this product, how much food do you think that restaurant sells a day? Well, now he's selling 100x daily, so he's making money that way, right?
A,
I st-
a, a Nana, that particular restaurant, sorry to interrupt, but they were saying that they were making like 500, serving 500 meals out of that restaurant a day when they don't even have 100 customers per day.
And they were, let me be honest with you. They will literally give you as much food as you'd like. Like, if we wanted 3 trays of that restaurant food, they would give it to us. And it's just so traumatizing because I'm a law abiding person, I'm a God fearing person, and the fact that I was going, like, I was literally eating this scam food and participating in this, I didn't know what was going on. So immediately when I found out about it, I was pissed off, and I'm still pissed off. I'm not going to defend the
yeah,
Somali community because I saw firsthand the scams, and it's not just that lying about, being personal care aides. One guy, my mom told me one guy, because we talk about this stuff in our communities, like what's going on and how weird and crazy. Because I'm not trying to say Ethiopians are this way and Somalis are this way, but generally Ethiopians are scared to death of the government going to jail. Like we're scared to death of that type of stuff. And so she told me like there was one guy, a Somali guy that was saying that he was a personal care aide for a guy that was sick, like he had diseases or something was wrong with him. And you know, with personal care aid, if a person has disabilities, they can't take care of themselves, you get paid like 12, 13 hours, whatever. And this Somali guy was literally driving trucks in different states while pretending to be personal health aid. And they asked the guy like uh, the um the people that check on you, whatever, the government, state, whatever those people are, asked him, has he been checking on that guy? He's like, yeah, I've been checking on the guy. The guy is fine. He's like, oh really? The guy has been dead for 2 weeks. Like, you lied.
Okay, I want to bring Jay in. I'll answer Justin's question my way. So, cut welfare to all immigrants, problem solved. You guys have, you saw I did a whole video on welfare and capitalism. I'm somebody that believes there should be no welfare at all for anybody except for disabled people or people of certain categories through a means tested program, right? I think welfare holds people back. It robs people that pay taxes in a way, and it disincentivizes people's ability to work and have pride in themselves. So this is my stand of it as general. Now, if as a first step they got to cut out all immigrants, absolutely. I think in most states, uh, migrants don't even qualify. It's certain blue states that have made put this on steroids and have made this possible, like California, Minnesota, Illinois, a few states on the East Coast will make this possible. But here in Texas, you can't. I mean, you can't get shit here. So if it works for Texas, it should work for everybody else. I think feeding of the state is not like I would not feel good as a man if I have to go collect my rent check from the government. Really, like what am I doing, right? So this is why I stand on it. Jay, let me know what you think on this.
No, I agree. I agree with you guys 100%. Just from my knowledge with Somali people, it seems like, because I've traveled a lot of different places, like different states, different countries. They tend to be in a lot of the western parts of the world, like United States, Canada, and England, right? And it seems to be like a common denominator wherever they are. They have large families. I noticed that they tend to have like a huge amount of people living in the household. The fathers tend to be like cab drivers or Uber drivers, and the mothers tend to be on welfare. So this is a common thing over there. And then the thing that's strange too is funny, because I think they should start tracking where the money is going. Like, where did a lot of this money go? Because I noticed I was out there in East Africa. I was out there in East Africa, out in Kenya, right? And I noticed that there was a lot of Somali real estate projects coming up. Like, they were building properties and stuff like this. But it's just like, I'm wondering. I'm like, where is this money coming from? Where is this money coming from? Because in Somalia, you can't build anything in Somalia. Somalia is a war torn country, right?
Correct.
So where are they getting this money from? They're building up they're building up like actual condominiums and stuff like that. And there's so many projects all over Nairobi with Somalian builders and whatnot. So a lot of this, I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking while you guys were speaking, I'm like, is this where they're getting a lot of that money from? Are they getting it from like these welfare systems and funneling? Because I know they send their money back home. That's the common. When I've spoken to Somalians in the past, they don't invest in the country they're in. So Somalians aren't going to go out there. They're going to maybe build little small shops and little things like
Well,
that of that ilk.
In Minneapolis, they actually are like they're really building up a lot of those neighborhoods. They put up a mall, they put up some stuff there. So
They,
I
they,
know for a
th-
fact in
but
Minneapolis they're putting some money there.
you can find the little Somalia where you can buy like the grocery stores and stuff like that. Like, the basic necessity things, like certain types of food products that they serve in their country. You can go to, like, sure, you can go over there and they have their little mall. I think there was a video they were showing of one of the journalists going into the Somali mall and whatnot. But even in the Somalian mall, it was kind of empty. That there wasn't really much traction going on in that mall over there, and that was their biggest mall. I saw the video, so I did see the
Right.
video. It is out there, and from what I saw there, it kind of looked like a watered down swap meet or a flea market type of situation going on over there. Like, it wasn't anything not there wasn't anything on Olive. It wasn't anything like they didn't create anything new. This was you've seen this stuff over the years in civilization's time with
Yeah.
swap meets. They have them everywhere. But to me, it's just kind of like outside of that, though. It's just like I've noticed too. If you look at a lot of the workforce they go into, a lot of times it tends to be like charitable organizations, government jobs. It's mostly stuff in the government sector, the public sector. They don't go and work in the private sector. Like you don't really see huge amounts of them in certain like in those kinds of sectors there.
You're
So it's
so
kind of like,
right. You're so right.
yeah,
You
mhm,
just made me want to bring up something. I don't want to forget it. But
yeah,
one thing that I remember when I was amongst these people, because I'm not around Africans right now. I'm totally isolated after all of that stuff that I saw. I just don't even want to be. I'm scared of these scams. But because there's a lot of them, but they like there's this theme that I see too, non-profit organizations. Can somebody please explain how do you get rich from this? Because apparently
mhm,
that's the thing that they're all doing.
yeah. That's their
Well, a lot of
business.
nonprofits are their business, but it's their 501c for the IRS, so they don't pay taxes. Their goal is supposed to be technically nonprofit, but because people work in nonprofits, you got to give those organizers a salary. So this is how a lot of that gets funneled into salaries, and those salaries, according to the law, there is really no cap. You see what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this is a loophole that the United States uh, Treasury Department has created through the IRS that exists to this very day. I mean, I know high income friends of mine, not direct, but like high end business people here in the Dallas area that have to attach some type of nonprofit to their real estate businesses so that they're able to get a good tax break, right? Uh, is that is that fraud? I think not. It's immoral. It is immoral, but it's legal.
no, totally
Because
understand.
when big business does this, they call it tax loopholes, right? I used to do a tax business, so I'm aware of how these things work. And as a tax guy, my primary focus was always to look for the lowest that my clients will pay. Like my goal was to find them the lowest taxes ever that I could ever find on the books. And as long as I found it, I applied it, right? So that's how I think the tax system has to be looked at for some of these issues that happens to. Like you can't win if you just straight up pay the if you're on a 30% tax bracket that you just pay your 30% and move on. Nobody does that. Everybody finds a way to drop that to 25%, right?
But the
Or
thing
even
is,
lower.
what they're not doing, they're not rendering the services. So this is what they do. They pretend like the service was done, and they get the check and they cash the check. The check goes straight to their bank account, and then what they do with that money is go buy properties in Kenya or go buy properties in like another country like
Yeah,
Dubai or
Sudan,
whatever.
Sudan, yep, Sudan, yep, Dubai. Yeah, that's what I
No,
noticed.
not
That
Sudan,
oh,
because
sorry.
Sudan is in a genocide right now,
No,
so
it's a
they can't.
there's a huge percentage of them in South Sudan over there. So they got something going on out there in the South Sudan area. I've noticed that too.
Oh,
I have quite a bit of guys out there. They have encounters with them over there as well. And you see some of them are driving around like Mercedes
and
Benz,
Somalians
G
in South
wagons.
Sudan.
Yes, yeah, they're out there. They tend to be in the areas of Uganda, South Sudan, Nairobi,
Wow, I did not know that.
Well,
Yemen, and
that's because Uganda and both Kenya
mhm,
are host countries for refugees, especially Kenya. In
Yeah.
Kenya,
yeah,
you're going to find the biggest population of Somalis anywhere outside of Somalia.
yeah.